it's Craig here from Whispering Storyteller. I'm hoping you're having a fantastic evening so far. Okay, for anybody who has not visited this channel before, this channel is dedicated to helping you relax, sleep, and unwind after a long, hard day. And if that's what you're looking for, then hopefully you've come to the right place. I would also really appreciate it if you would like, if you do, subscribe if you enjoy this channel, and of course ring that bell for any notifications of any upcoming videos that I post. And it just means so much to me to have an audience that engages with me and helps me to create the best possible content that I can. So tonight's video is going back to looking at some books, which is not something I've done for a while now. And a great thing to do is to look at this one I found recently. Now this is He-Man and the Memory Stone. Now this is a vintage children's book from the 1980s, probably about 1984, 1985-ish, I think. And for anyone familiar with the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe franchise, that was launched in the early 80s and was huge. Basically, there was a lot of merchandise and TV shows and movies which all span off the franchise. So before we get into He-Man and the Memory Stone, which is a choose-your-own-adventure game, it was the only one of its kind for He-Man. And this is one where we decide what happens. We control what He-Man does in his quest, whatever that is. And this book belonged to me and my brother, and it's been in my possession ever since. And inside you'll see there's lots of different things, little passages that we navigate through. And we're going to play this with a dice and a pen and paper. But first of all, let's have a quick look at the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe history and find out when it started and whatever happened to it as well. So, according to Wikipedia, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is an American animated series produced by Filmation and based on Mattel's toy line Masters of the Universe. The show is often referred to as simply He-Man and was one of the most popular animated shows of the 1980s. It made its television debut in September 1983 and ran until 1985, consisting of 2 seasons of 65 episodes each. Reruns continued to circulate until 1988, at which point USA Network bought the rights to the series books and magazines, and 2 feature films, 1 animated and 1 live action. Well, we do get a sense of what He-Man is all about there, and it's a huge franchise, all created by Mattel and the toys that they created. Now, back in the 1980s, my brother and I were He-Man fanatics. We had all of the figures. We had Castle Grayskull, we had Snake Mountain, we had all of the goodies, He-Man and Man-at-Arms and Teela, and all of the baddies, which was Skeletor and Beastman and Trapjaw, just to remember a few there. So this book, I'm not sure who bought it or how it came into our possession, but I've had it since the mid-80s, and it's still here in pristine condition. So He-Man and the Memory Stone was written by Jason Kingsley. It was devised by Roger Hurt with illustrations by Judith Wood and David Glenn. And this is a first edition produced by Ladybird Books. Okay, so how to play the game. Remember, this is an adventure story in which we will be choosing what happens. So we will need a pencil and an ordinary 6-sided die. As you read the story, you will decide what He-Man does and where he goes in the adventure. Sometimes he will meet enemies which he has to fight. You'll need to roll the die to find out what happens in these battles. Follow the instructions given in the story. He-Man starts his journey with 12 life points. And there's the life points there. Use your pencil to cross off the life points on the chart as He-Man loses them, and if He-Man reaches 0 life points, the adventure ends and you must start again. minimize the tap as well, but the microphone is actually off camera today. But let's give it a little tap and see how it sounds. You get the gist. Okay, so if you're lying or sitting comfortably, get yourself nice and warm and relaxed, and we will start this journey of He-Man and the Memory Stone. Are you ready? Okay, this is the beginning of the story. Deep underneath a snake mountain, deeper than even Skeletor had dared to go before, the slave Skelcons had found a cavern. They immediately summoned their master. Skeletor rushed through the mines, down towards the newly unearthed cavern. At last we have found it. The brain draining stone truly exists. Pushing aside his gibbering servants, he entered the small chamber. Now to put an end to the laughable buffoon He-Man, I will suck his mind dry. Skeletor raised his energy blade until its tip almost touched the small grey stone in the centre of the chamber. With an evil cackle, the Lord of Destruction set about the task of draining He-Man's mind. But unknown to him, the stone was not perfect, and its brain-draining powers missed their mark. Instead, they struck Man-at-Arms. In Castle Grayskull, Man-at-Arms was busy repairing and charging the energy weapons when the black beam struck him like a shadowy hand. He fought strongly, but the ancient stone's power, forged by who knows what foul creature, succeeded in sucking his memory dry. He could no longer remember anything. Skeletor was furious. He had seen what had happened through his video lens. "Fools," he shouted, as the Skelcons hid in the deep shadows, afraid of their master's anger. "I shall still destroy He-Man. Without Man-at-Arms to repair and invent their weapons, their castle is defenseless." Back in Castle Grayskull, everyone had crowded around Man-at-Arms. They soon realized what had happened. Stratos had caught a glimpse of the beam with his super-sensitive eyes. "There is nothing else can be done," said He-Man quietly. "We have no other means of transport. All of our machines are useless without the expert Man-at-Arms to maintain them. While you all remain here to protect the castle from attack, I must go with Battlecat and the trusty Power Blade to recapture his memories." If He-Man decides to leave right away, turn to page 20. If he decides to wait until nightfall, turn to 69. Well, I think there's no time like the present. Why wait until nightfall? If we wait till nightfall, it's just prolonging Just as the drawbridge is about to be lowered, Stratos rushes up to He-Man. I don't think you should leave during the day. Your mission will be made much easier if you leave in darkness. This will also give me time to investigate the lie of the land. He-Man agrees and returns to help to build more defences for the castle. Oh well, there you go. So we are going to leave anyway because it's going to give Stratos more chance to look at the land. I didn't know that information, so let's move to page 69. While He-Man gets ready for his great task, Stratos, Lord of Avion, takes to the air to search the area for dangers. It is dusk when he returns. Through the thick leaves I saw Beastman and a band of large creatures heading this way along the road. Leaping to his feet, He-Man mounts Battlecat and they race over the drawbridge and into the night. So we've got three choices now. If He-Man follows the road through the forest to turn to 61, if he tells Battlecat to plunge through the undergrowth close to the roadside, turn to 100. If he decides to walk along with Battlecat, turn to 66. Let's go through the forest. Is that a good idea? Let's do it. Let's turn to 61. The night is dark and thick clouds cover the moon. This is no problem for Battlecat, who can see in the blackness. Roll the die. If you get a 1, 2 or 3, turn to page 135. If you get a 4, 5 or 6, turn to page 10. Okay, let's roll this dice. It's a 2, so we turn to 135. Battlecat stiffens and growls. I smell Beastman. He's heading this way with his band of followers. If they decide to hide in the undergrowth, turn to page 50. If they continue to walk along the narrow road, turn to 85. Well, if you can smell Beastman coming, I think we should take cover and assess the situation first. Agree? Yeah, okay, brilliant. Let's turn to page 50. Quickly, He-Man runs into a thick bush where both he and Battlecat can hide easily. Not a moment too soon, around the corner in the forest road lumbers the hairy shape of Beastman and some of his powerful beast people, but they haven't seen He-Man or Battlecat yet. If they remain hidden, turn to 122. If they jump out and attack, turn to 115. And there they are. There's He-Man and Battlecat hiding in there. Not very well hidden, may I add. And there is Beastman and his minions. Okay, I think we should jump out and attack them. They're obviously on their way to Castle Grayskull. And if we can't manage Beastman and his few followers, what chance do we have against Skeletor? So I think we should protect Castle Grayskull and attack these creatures. Okay, do you agree? Yes, brilliant. So we need to roll the dice until we get a 5. I'll just do that again because I rolled off camera. Oh, it's a 5. Wow, we're getting a 5. He-Man knocks Beastman out cold. Take that, Beastman. Wow, so we've beat him already. See, just a little bravery really does lead the way. Beastman and his hairy gang run away into the dense forest, swinging up into the trees. They soon have disappeared. If He-Man decides to follow them, turn to 100. If he continues along the road, turn to 77. Well, they've retreated. I don't see the point in following them. There's a lot more dangers out there, so let's continue along the road. Agree? Brilliant. Me and my brother used to absolutely love this when we were kids, but my memory of this is really poor, and it's so simple as well. We thought this was really great, but it's so simple and so 80s as well. The road is well used and heads through the evergreen forest towards the wide grassy plains in the south. There, He-Man hopes to find even faster transport than the faithful Battle Cat, but there is still a long way to go. Turn to 108. The dark night fades into a cool dawn light as Eternia's sun rises over the distant, hazy mountains. Soon the dense forest thins out, and the vast grassy south plain comes into sight. And there is the sun rising over the mountains. And we'll turn to page 15. The dawn silence is shattered by a terrible screeching sound. He-Man turns just in time to fend off a hurtling body with his shield. The creature jumps to its feet as Battle Cat's hairs bristle in anger. A hideous monkey spider has dropped down on He-Man from its perch, high in one of the great trees, looking like a large monkey with spider's legs coming from its body. It approaches, dripping poison on the ground. And there is this creature, looking very, very scary. And there is He-Man, not bothered one bit, ready to do battle. And I don't know what's going on with his hairstyle there. So let's roll the die and score using the table below until you get a 6. Let's do this. We've got a 4. He-Man wounds the creature badly. Add 2 to your next throw. Okay, we've got 7. Does that mean we can carry on? No, until we get a 6. We'll just throw again. We got a 6. I'm gonna take that one. Okay, He-Man fells the creature with one blow. Turn to 45. We haven't even lost one life point yet. He was no match for us, was he? Leaving the monkey spider behind, He-Man and Battle Cat jog through the wispy grass, down a gently sloping hillside onto the great southern plain. Turn to 81. The creature I seek is a horse with a man's mind, though his human side is tempered with a horse's natural nervousness. He-Man turns to the great cat. The huge tiger nods in agreement. I understand, He-Man, he growls in reply. If you wish, I will return to Castle Grayskull. If He-Man tells his friend to do this, turn to 139. If He-Man doesn't want Battle Cat to leave and continue deeper onto the plain, turn to 105. I didn't know we were looking for a horse with a man's mind. But is it safe to send Battle Cat back home? I think we should keep Battle Cat a bit longer, do you? I quite like him, he's quite cool. Yes, so we would like him to stay with us, I think. When we find the creature with the half horse, half man, then we can send Battle Cat back home. That would seem the more logical plan to me. So we'll turn to 105 because we don't want to lose Battle Cat just yet. I'm taking this far too seriously. He-Man decides that the creature he seeks will not be afraid of Battle Cat, so they continue across the dry, grassy plain. So that's the reason why. It didn't mention anything about the creature being scared of Battle Cat. Never mind, we decided. Let's continue on. The sun continues to climb higher in the sky. In the distance, Battle Cat spots a tiny figure coming closer and closer. Soon he is able to tell He-Man that it is Thunder Horse approaching quickly. The strange creature suddenly stops, snorting in the air, and stamping his foot as it smells the cat. If He-Man tells Battle Cat to return to the castle, press 139. If He-Man tells Battle Cat to return to the castle, turn to 139. If He-Man calls out to Thunder Horse, turn to 146. Okay, now that we understand that the horse might be frightened, I think we should send Battle Cat back to the castle. So let's turn to 139. Battle Cat moves away as Thunder Horse comes nearer. He is still very as Thunder Horse. He-Man grips Thunder Horse's mane as together they set off for the desert of desolation and the sands of time. Turn to 35. A cloud of dust is seen through the vast grassy plain. Ahead of it gallops the fleet-footed Thunder Horse. Quickly the great grey dunes appear on the horizon. A scorching wind blows sand from their summits. The sand covers the grasslands and Thunder Horse slows to a brisk walk as his hooves begin to disappear under the surface at every stride. Turn to 103. Again and again, Thunder Horse and He-Man climb the steep side of a dune, only to see more dunes ahead of them. The sun is setting low on the horizon when they reach the end of the dunes. Here the sand is firmer, and He-Man leaps onto Thunder Horse's back, and they continue. Turn to 125. Over to his left, he sees an unusual cone-shaped hollow in the dry sand. If he wants to investigate this hollow, turn to 3. If he tells Thunder Horse to keep going, turn to 42. Well, I think we should investigate. It's something unusual, and I think we need to see what it is. So I vote to investigate, and we will turn to 3. Do you agree? Yeah, brilliant. I thought you would. Stay here, my friend, says He-Man to Thunder Horse, while I go to investigate. Carefully, He-Man approaches the edge of the deep pit. His sharp eyes catch sight of a dark, shiny object in its center. If he decides to climb down and investigate further, turn to 23. If he kicks some sand down into the pit, turn to 47. If he wants to return to Thunder Horse and continue on his way, turn to 42. I say that we kick some sand down into the pit. It might reveal what's down there. There might be some kind of reaction from whatever is down there. So why don't we turn to 47 and kick some sand down the pit? You agree? Brilliant. That's great news. same page. No pun intended. The dry sand pours down to the bottom of the funnel-shaped pit where it bounces off the shiny object. With a roar, a huge glossy black beetle erupts from beneath the sand, ready to devour its victim. But He-Man is too far away, and the beetle sinks back under the sand to begin its long wait for its next meal. He-Man returns to Thunder Horse, turn to 42. And 42 is on the same opening page. Dusk approaches as Thunder Horse gallops across the burning sands towards He-Man's next obstacle, which is the fine jungle. As they rush along, spears of tough grass begin to appear, then green bushes and small thorn trees, until they're on the edge of a thick, moist jungle. Thunder Horse stops. Here our ways must part, my friend. I can help you no more. I will return to my green plains. Thank you, replies He-Man. You are a true friend. With a whiny, Thunder Horse gallops off into the dim light. Turn to 63. The jungle seems dim and eerie compared to the harsh heat of the desert, but He-Man must go on ahead through the steaming undergrowth. Bright birds flutter high in the trees, rainbow frogs hop away quickly, and monkeys chatter loudly, throwing twigs at one another. Roll the die. If you get a 1, 2 or 3, turn to 75. If you get a 4, 5 or 6, turn to 87. It's a 2, so we go to 75. As He-Man pushes through the undergrowth and hanging creepers, he comes across the beginning of a pathway. If he follows the pathway, turn to 83. If he continues through the undergrowth, turn to 94. I say we follow the pathway. Do you agree? Excellent. That's great news. I thought you would say that. Let's turn to 83. At first, the way through is no more than a few battered down plants, but as He-Man continues, it becomes a more definite pathway. have been smashed down. He-Man moves closer. In the centre of a ring of mud huts is the foul creature Whiplash, an evil reptile and servant of Skeletor. He is attacking the small pygmy people. He-Man shouts out a challenge to Whiplash. Turn to 113. Whiplash turns angrily and thrashes his massive tail. He charges at He-Man, knocking several of the pygmies aside. Roll a die and score using the table below until you get a 6. Let's see if Whiplash is any challenge for He-Man. A 3. He-Man jumps over the tail as it thrashes about. 5. Whiplash is knocked to the ground by a mighty punch from He-Man. Add 2 to your next roll. We don't need to, because we got a 6. Whiplash is knocked out. Turn to 130. I think we're going to get through this without using any of our lifelines. What a team we are. The tiny pygmies rush to thank He-Man as Whiplash lies on the trampled floor. He-Man tells them to tie Whiplash up with some jungle vines. May we help you? Asks the chief pygmy, his bone necklace rattling. Yes, indeed, replies He-Man. If you could take me to the edge of the jungle, that would be a great help. Turn to 1 for 1. A large band of pygmies armed with small spears and blowguns lead He-Man through the jungle to the edge of a high cliff. Many hundreds of feet below begins the volcanic region which He-Man must cross to get to Snake Mountain and the stone which holds Man-at-Arm's memory. He turns to thank the pygmies, but they have disappeared back into the jungle. Turn to 120. wants to climb down using the creepers, turn to 7. If he decides to rely on the rock of the cliff itself to provide hand and footholds, turn to 26. Well, if it's dangerous, we will just go down using the hand and footholds. Hey, why don't we do that? 26. Through the rock is crumbly in places. The many crevices and ledges allow He-Man to climb down easily. At last he reaches the scorched grey earth. Turn to 5. A thick layer of ash-grey soil covers the scorched land. Many volcanoes erupt, boiling lava and pits of oily, evil-smelling liquid over the landscape. He-Man walks towards the spiral of dark smoke that marks the position of Snake Mountain. Roll the die. If you get a 1, 2 or 3, turn to 9. If you get a 4, 5 or 6, turn to 32. We got a 6, so we're going to turn to 32. At every step, He-Man's feet cause a small cloud of ash to billow into the air, as if the land were burning once more. Suddenly the ground gives way. He-Man plummets into darkness, landing on a pile of grey, damp mud in a narrow tunnel. Above him the blue sky shines down through a gaping hole. If he wants to follow the tunnel, turn to 24. If he decides to try and climb out, turn to 41. I say we walk down the tunnel because I've got a feeling that Snake Mountain might be at the end of it. Do you agree? Brilliant, I knew you'd agree. I think this is an underground tunnel. So let's follow it and see where it goes. The tunnel is low and dark, lit only by the occasional glowing rock. Sometimes the roof forces He-Man to crouch low. At other times it soars upwards to a great height. It was through one of these thin areas that He-Man fell into the tunnel. In the distance, he thinks he can hear the faint sound of hammering, but it may be his imagination. Turn to 39. Suddenly the faint hammering is replaced by a much louder noise. It is the sound of grinding or burrowing. Roll the die. If you get a 1, 2 or 3, turn to 44. If you get a 4, 5 or 6, turn to 52. Oh, I didn't roll properly. We got a 1. So we turn to 44. The sound becomes much louder wants to remain still and let it pass, turn to 60. If he wants to attack it, go to 74. I'm feeling that we should add some action. We haven't even lost one life point. Shall we attack the creature, or shall we let it pass? I will let the dice decide. If I get less than a 3, we let it go. If we get more than 3, we attack. That's fair enough, isn't it? We attack the creature. Okay. Let's turn to 74. He-Man swings at the huge worm, and the power blade easily cuts through its thick armor. The creature lets out a scream of pain and shrinks back into the tunnel, squirting a foul-smelling gas from its mouth. Subtract 1 life point as the gas burns at He-Man's skin. Ah, what a shame. So we've got 11 left. And we're not doing so bad. Not doing so bad at all. So we'll turn to 78. He-Man hurries through the dark tunnel towards Snake Mountain. He knows that every second counts. After what seems like an age, he begins to hear sounds of mining more clearly. Soon he is rushing deeper and deeper into the mines. Turn to 131. The Skeletons drop their mining tools and flee in terror at the sight of He-Man. Without Skeletor to drive them on, they are lazy and cowardly. At last He-Man reaches the deepest part of the mine and enters the small chamber. Turn to 121. The memory-draining stone lies in the center of the chamber. He-Man approaches it carefully. Suddenly there is a flash, and out of a cloud of foul green, foul-smelling smoke steps Skeletor, Lord of Destruction. So, He-Man, you have come this far, but you will go no further. Prepare to die. He laughs. Turn to 136. I should have done an evil villain's laugh there, shouldn't I? Skeletor raises the Havoc Staff. He-Man stands ready with the power blade drawn and shining with energy. Roll the die and score using the table below until you get a 6. And there's a nice visual of He-Man and Skeletor preparing for battle. A 1. Skeletor blasts He-Man with the Havoc Staff. Subtract 2 life points. Things are getting very tense, guys. We've got 9 life points left. 2. Skeletor smashes He-Man with his fist. Subtract 1 life point. Wow, 8 left, guys. Can we do this? Can He-Man 6, He-Man knocks Skeletor unconscious with a blow from his mighty power blade. Yes, 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 yes. Turn to 150. We're at the end. With Skeletor lying unconscious on the floor of the chamber, He-Man rushes across the small grey stone that has caused all of this trouble. Raising the power blade high above his head, he then brings down the magic edge, slicing down into it. The pebble bursts into hundreds of pieces, and Man-at-Arm's memory goes back to him over many miles. Back at Castle Grayskull, Man-at-Arm suddenly looks up. "My memory," he shouts suddenly. "It has returned. He-Man must have conquered Skeletor at last." Quickly, Man-at-Arm sets about repairing and recharging the machines that have remained idle for so long. Armed with the newly working energy weapons that make Skeletor's band of evil followers turn tail and flee, foul creatures scatter into the countryside as bright blue laser beams flash toward them from the castle. When all is quiet once more, Man-at-Arms and Teela ride out in battle ram to rescue He-Man from Snake Mountain. They pick him up from the very top of the mountain, where he stands in triumph. The dark and deadly side of Eternia, for the moment, is defeated. The masters of the universe are one step closer to the total destruction of all that is evil. The end. And that concludes the reading of this lovely vintage and fantastically nostalgic adventure game book. I'm not sure if this is easy